For athletes, injuries are a part of life, but most of us don't truly understand how to properly recover from them. This is the final episode in my injury series, so as you know, I've been dealing with several long-term injuries over the past decade. What I've learned over that time is that injury recovery is far more mental than it is physical, and I've condensed all of that knowledge into this video. As athletes, we often have our identity, who we are, tied with our sport and our ability to compete. So when we are forced to miss time due to injury, we have a void. It's that feeling that we aren't truly ourselves anymore, that feeling that we're underachieving or missing out in some way. This is an approach that I built for myself over the last 10 years, so it's not intended to be medical advice. And if it helps you, if you like it, if you value it, then I'd like to know. Let me know in the comments down below. This is all part of my series following my journey from average guy to professional golfer in just 1 year. To understand my full approach to injury recovery, we need to first know who this guy is. And also this guy, but we'll save him for later. This is Sisyphus. Sisyphus was a king in Greek mythology, and Sisyphus cheated death not once but twice, which greatly angered the gods. When Sisyphus was finally caught by death, he was punished for his transgressions against Zeus and death itself. Sisyphus' punishment was to roll a boulder, a giant boulder, up a hill. However, when he gets right to the top of that hill, the boulder rolls all the way back down again. And he has to push it all the way back up, only for it to roll all the way back down. Sisyphus never makes it to the top. He never achieves his goal. He is stuck in a loop for all eternity of futile exercise. Now, I promise this isn't going to be all philosophy. We are going to get to injury recovery, but it's very important we understand the philosophy side of this. Now, back to the other guy, this guy. This is Nobel Prize winning philosopher Albert Camus. His absurdist philosophy is at the very core of my injury recovery process. If you aren't a philosopher, don't worry, this is not a philosophy video. I'm just giving you the Cliff Notes version. According to Camus, everything was absurd. Everything from standing in line at the grocery store, to getting married, to playing golf, to being injured, it's all ridiculously absurd and meaningless and has no inherent value. But for him, it's in this very absurdity that we find meaning. But what does this have to do with ancient Greek philosophy? Well, in his famous essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus argues that we, humans, are inherently Sisyphus. Our struggle is the same as his struggle. We engage in futile exercises for all of eternity. There is no inherent meaning in our suffering. There is no inherent meaning in our existence. We must create that meaning. Camus sums this up in one poetic line, saying that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. We must imagine that Sisyphus enjoys engaging in his ultimately fruitless pursuit. Even though in the pit of suffering, in the pit of dealing with injury, it can be painful, it can be hopeless, we have to find happiness there. When our sports are taken from us through injury, we struggle to find meaning, we struggle to find purpose, we struggle to find value. We often ask questions like, how did this happen? How could this happen to me? Why is this happening right now? Camus believes these questions are ultimately unnecessary, because even if the injury is unfair, even if the timeline is long, even if these things are completely absurd, we can find meaning in them by embracing the recovery process. In order to do this, we have to find meaning and reward and happiness in doing the small things, the small tasks on the road to recovery. Now, growing up, one of my favorite football players was this guy, Ray Lewis. And he has a quote that really has guided my approach to golf and to injury recovery. Ray Lewis says that greatness is a lot of small things done well, day after day. And that's my approach to recovery. It's the small things, the ugly things, the things that don't get appreciated and liked and retweeted. The small things suck. They can be repetitive and monotonous, and in the moment we don't see change happening, because change is a process that requires effort over time. But we must imagine ourselves happy, toiling in that process. We must find happiness and meaning and reward in doing the small things. Most of my workouts, which we'll see in the coming weeks, are maintenance and prevention oriented. And they're small things, things that don't get applauded, things that are simple, things that are repetitive, things that oftentimes don't even require lifting heavy weights. Injury recovery is not a mountain. There is no summit. It's a continuous process of maintenance, prevention, recovery. Maintenance, prevention, recovery. There is no reaching the top. The boulder will always come back down the hill. And so we must find some kind of enjoyment, some kind of peace, some kind of happiness in the simple task of doing those things. Prevention, maintenance, recovery. We will never push the boulder to the top of the hill. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard truth to take. But our bodies wear and tear, and sports are very, very hard on the body. So we do the best we can, and we smile while we push that boulder up the hill. I'll see you next week on Tourbound.